If I were to show a long list of my favorite games, a lot of that list would be Pokémon titles, even though I thoroughly enjoy a broad cadre of games like Command & Conquer, Hitman, Hollow Knight, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and Just Cause 2, just to name a few. Accordingly, when my friends and I discuss favorite games and tiering, I usually condense the mainline Pokémon games into one entry. After that, though, well, in a toss-up with Breath of the Wild, Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, Red and Blue Rescue Team, and Explorers of Time, Darkness and Sky follow closely behind at the summit. One thing that the two first generations of the Mystery Dungeon games have over the mainline games, and Breath of the Wild for sure though, is their ability to legitimately bring tears to my eyes every time I complete their main storylines. I want to reflect on that a bit here, so let's get into that. Of course, there will be spoilers for both of the Mystery Dungeon games I'll be talking about today, so play them beforehand if you'd like to not be spoiled. I definitely highly suggest playing said games. Spoilers for Undertale, Undertale Yellow, and Deltarune, chapters 1 through 4, as well. Both of the games start with you as the player taking a quiz to determine what Pokémon you are, as you are shunted into the Pokémon world with amnesia. All you can remember upon being woken by another Pokémon, your soon-to-be partner, is your name, and that you were a human beforehand. After helping a Mother Butterfree rescue her Caterpie and rescue team, and your future partner take back his treasure from bullies and explorers, you form a rescue or exploration team respectively. In Rescue Team, you go about doing various jobs and rescues, get into quarrels with another team bent on world domination, who, as nearly complete rookies, you take to the cleaners, and even rescue other teams from the clutches of the legendary Zapdos. Everything starts tumbling down once you start having cryptic dreams about your forgotten life as a human. A visionary Xatu notes connections between upset world balance and a human becoming a Pokémon, with Gengar eavesdropping, and Whiscash further corroborating worries with the legend of Ninetales turning the cowardly human into a Pokémon with a curse. Gengar, of course, pulls the trigger, still being salty about you royally thrashing them, and sets the whole town out to eliminate you in hopes of stopping the calamities. Despite all this, your partner and those who you helped earlier in the story still believe in you, so you and your partner set off to find evidence to clear your name. After battling to the ends of the earth, you finally meet the legendary Ninetales, who confirms you are not the human in the legend. Feels good to prove Gengar wrong and have the town turn on them instead, but it's also a great piece of closure for the partner to be vindicated in their belief in you. After sprucing up the home base, you go fight Groudon, who has been adding to the calamities after waking, and enter the main story endgame as you realize it was a meteor headed for the world that was prompting all these disasters. You teleport to the sky to get Rayquaza to destroy it, and having saved this world, must return to your own world as your purpose was fulfilled. Explorers of Sky sees your team begin its operations by working rescue missions and guild responsibilities under Wigglytuff's guild, thanks to your presence helping your partner's courage to apply. You rescue some local kids from a greedy kidnapper thanks to some special power of hearing and seeing through time that you have. Title card reference. You run into some bumps with your first real exploration, already having been explored by Wigglytuff in the past, and the bullies from earlier sabotaging your standing with the guild. But the guildmaster's grace makes it so everybody is able to go on a big expedition together. After finding a way to lift the fog, making exploration difficult, once again clairvoyant powers for the win, Team Skull gets ready to blast you away again until Wigglytuff inadvertently saves you and destroys them. The Groudon that's been built up as the place's big boss turns out to be a front by Yuxi to protect the region's time gear, one of many artifacts that keeps time running as normal. Soon after this discovery, a thief Grovyle is reported to be stealing these time gears. To try to prevent further gears from being stolen, the guild teams up with an upshot explorer Dusknoir to search for gears ourselves and protect them from Grovyle. We find one, guarded by Mesprit, fight due to a misunderstanding, and Grovyle steals this one too. We find one more time gear guarded by Azelf, but this time Grovyle beat us to the punch. Luckily, Azelf has a failsafe to prevent its capture, and Dusknoir also shows up to give chase. Dusknoir then reveals that both he and Grovyle are from the future, and that Grovyle is trying to freeze the future so that he cannot be caught as a criminal in their original time. Eventually, Grovyle is lured back to the time gear and a trap is sprung to capture him. It looks like you've saved the world once again until... betrayal. Yeah, it turns out Dusknoir was a liar, plants for hire, and the world was already frozen in their timeline. He was trying to prevent Grovyle from collecting the gears to repair Temporal Tower and, in turn, Dialga the Time Lord's sanity and stability. You were taken back alongside Grovyle because it is revealed that you were actually Grovyle's partner before the first time jump was botched and you suffered amnesia. Now you have to team up with Grovyle to get back to the past. Samurai Jack. Of course, being told everything you know is wrong is a bit much, and the partner isn't too keen on teaming up at first. It's like the first game where the partner is really doubtful about what to think about once hearing the Ninetales curse. But this execution is even better as you have to go through multiple settings to have the change of mind and realization kick in that maybe we were in fact duped, bamboozled, and quite possibly Speckledorfed. Reluctantly, the partner agrees to go along with Grovyle to find Celebi and the time gate they first used to get back to our time. After a close call with Dusknoir and Primal Dialga, we are able to get back and lay low for a bit while we find the time gears again and figure out what to do about everybody else. Eventually, we realize we need the help of the guild and will need to try to convince them everyone was deceived. Chatot is in denial at first, but a beautiful moment of camaraderie between you and the guild members turns Chatot around and vindicates you and Grovyle. While Grovyle goes to collect the gears again, you and the guild search for clues to the entrance to Temporal Tower, the hidden land. Thanks to the Elder Torkoal's memory coming back, the partner's treasure way back from the beginning, and Wigglytuff and Chatot's past explorations, you're able to find out how to get there. I know the Mystery Dungeon community unanimously hates Chatot, and I have to agree for the most part given how he's treated us, but I can't help but appreciate him due to his sacrificing himself for us in this dungeon. Plus he finally learns the truth about Team Skull and is ready to give them a walloping. Cool example of a flawed character. The treasure activates a rift, which Lapras takes us through to get to the Hidden Land. After one more ambush by Dusknoir and his cronies, the partner goes to activate the platform leading to the tower while we watch the tired out Dusknoir. Dusknoir then reveals to us that you, Grovyle, and himself will disappear if you succeed due to the changed future. Taking Grovyle at his word, we were resigned to this fact when we started this mission due to the misery that living in a world without time was like. We want to make the world better for future generations no matter what it costs us. Grovyle ensures we can continue to the tower by throwing himself and Dusknoir back through the time gate, and the emotions really start going at this point when Grovyle, knowing this is the last goodbye for him and his dear friend, and he's glad that his friend was able to meet another friend for life to carry out this mission to the end as well. Of course, admitting how soon that ending is coming. You climb the tower, fight Dialga to the greatest boss music of all time, and get the time gears in place to begin the restoration of time's flowing. And because you succeeded, that means it's time for you to go. The goodbye is largely structured the same in each game. You have completed the objective you came to this time and place to do, and you must now leave due to a higher power in Rescue Team's case and changed fate in Explorers. It's a simple premise at its core, making a friend for life over an adventure and having to say goodbye once it's over. It's been done many times, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to Lord of the Rings. Its ubiquity doesn't have to take away from its impact, though. Immersing yourself in what the story has put you through thus far gives plenty of reason to experience true bittersweetness. The friendship was dynamic, with instances of honest and communicated doubts and despair, alongside triumphs and elation. It can hit even deeper when you name your partner after a best friend in real life. For sure, I appreciate my best friends and what they mean to me with all the experiences we have had throughout our lives. This game provides a prompted focal point in that regard to again reflect on how lucky I am to have the friends I do, with all our shared interests and meaningful support of each other. The two settings have notable distinguishing characteristics from one another, though. In Rescue Team, several townspeople and other rescuers have gathered to celebrate the saving of the world, only to have that celebration dampened by the loss of the hero. It is a neat bit of subversion towards the characters in that everything was thought to be just fine by everyone moments earlier, as you both clearly survived without life-threatening injuries. You as the player, of course, know that you will have to leave based on what Gardevoir has been telling you, but thinking about it from the characters' perspectives makes that realization hit much harder. The dialogue of the section clearly reflects this sentiment. In contrast, the exact moment in which you begin to fade from existence due to the changed timeline is experienced only by yourself and your partner. It is also incredibly emotional, and one might expect it to be even more personal and in-depth since it is just you two there to experience and communicate. With the little time you have left, your character asks the partner to go through the monumentally difficult task of not only getting back home alive, but also to tell the story of what happened to everyone. Your partner is being asked to put their immense grief on hold after everything you two have been through, and amazingly, they do so very well until... Such a powerful scene with all of the thoughts and memories hitting the partner at once. It's also fitting how this reaction happens when and how it does. Even after having months to grieve and recount the tales of the whole adventure to everyone, time is a curious thing that both heals wounds but also remains irrelevant for certain feelings. Masterful contribution to the theming of time, evident from the title of the game alongside the narrative elements up to this point. The fact that you're able to come back due to divine intervention does not detract from my feelings of the narrative either. All those experiences and sentiments still happened and matter to the characters. It's probably the reflection on this idea that makes the goodbye scene consistently hit so hard for me. I could see an alternate reaction coming from not paying as much attention to the story and focusing on the fact that it doesn't matter that you are going away because you'll just come back in a bit anyway. That's dramatic irony at work though, of course, as the characters themselves have to go through all of the grief without that knowledge. To make a bit of a detour that nonetheless still entertains the main topic, I want to talk about It's Only Smiles by Periphery. Similarly to Rescue Team and Explorers, this is a song that elicits intense feelings from me seemingly every time I listen to it. Plenty of other songs I acknowledge and perceive as sad or moving in their own right, of course. Wake Me Up When September Ends by Green Day has that simple yet gut-punching 20 years has gone so fast. The rhetorical quandaries and imagery evoking passing seasons given by Alter Bridge in Watch Over You conveys a truly sad story of connection and impending loss. Persephone's climactic instrumental work on Inner Fullness effectively embodies the feeling of spiritual migration, as the album title suggests. Each of these examples at least gets me wistful each time I listen, but they don't seem to hit me in the same intensity and frequency that It's Only Smiles does. I'm not a music theorist, but I'm pretty sure the main riff is in a major scale, which usually suggests more positive emotions. Also, it's got that Undertale motif at the climax and outro. Though the Undertale theme on its own doesn't quite hit like It's Only Smiles does, the sequence in which it plays in-game is a different story. Maybe there's some subconscious connection going on between these two. The string skipping and slides make the riff and licks feel very bouncy and lively, though the lyrics paired with them read as much more melancholic and longing than those first impressions. Once the chorus kicks in, these feelings become much more forward with lyrics like suggesting this really is a bittersweet reflection. The soft tapping section adds to this atmosphere, while the solo feels like further attempts to push through the sorrows and remember the good times past and to come. The instrumentation calming down after one last pre-chorus builds up the tension to an amazing whisper into breakdown sections. Death is true, don't be missing you. Feels like a moment of true acceptance of loss, and the wrenching growls and clean vocals get the waterworks going when you're really into it. Let's further digress into Undertale a bit. The emotion that comes from Mystery Dungeon feels, at least to me, largely character and individual driven. Undertale is quite character driven itself, but the tragedy of the story is societal and systemic as well. My best friend and I talked a bit about the fan game Undertale Yellow compared to Undertale, and they appreciate the more character-based story of Yellow to the point where it ranks higher as a game for them. Both Yellow and the original hit pretty hard, and it's really cool to think how the story being more or less focused on the characters compared to the larger world or society does not automatically preclude one or the other from being a lesser emotional experience. Again, of course, this isn't to say that Undertale doesn't have amazing characterization or that Yellow doesn't effectively add to the complex world building of the story. It's just more of a framework to discuss subtleties and perspectives of those engaging with the media. Rescue Team and the pacifist ending of Undertale have some interesting comparison points as well, now that I'm thinking about it. I never thought about it much myself until recently, but seeing a post scrolling through Reddit about the choice of forgiving Azrael has a bit more to it than I recall. For the most part, I still see forgiveness as the obvious choice, given the theme of the pacifist route is, at its core, about persistence, mercy, healing, and forgiveness. That being said, thinking back on the actions of Azrael does make it more difficult if you sit and think about it. I don't remember the exact specific lore surrounding the situation of him and Flowey being combined despite having done the route twice. Was most of the decision making to kill everyone and become a god mostly Flowey's, or did Azrael have some of that desire as well? Maybe I'm just not remembering some text that clearly spells it out, but it's also possible that if it is laid out for us, that there's still plenty of room for interpretation. Whichever way, I could still see how some might find forgiveness in this situation difficult, given what nearly completely transpired. Connecting back to Rescue Team, Gengar remains a villain for most of the story, only to have some seemingly out-of-pocket changes and helpful actions at the end. Even after being chased off by the town for deceiving them about you, he returns during the Groudon incident to sow hopelessness and nihilism when Alakazam's team still hasn't returned and other teams have also failed to even get close to Groudon. I mean, really, Gengar, what do you mean by, oh, did I just say something profound? What are you on about? This gets shut down, we defeat Groudon, and prepare to seek out Rayquaza to save the world. But Gengar apparently still hasn't had enough. He gives us nightmares until Gardevoir shows up, scaring him away. Seems like he's still just taking every opportunity to be petty and even outright destructive to you in the town, until you go to Xatu to get to Sky Tower. He and Alakazam explained they needed help creating the Teleport Gem and got that help from a Ghost-type Pokemon. There's only been one Ghost-type NPC that has interacted in the overworld thus far, so of course that, alongside the fact that they are not showing their face, tells you it's Gengar. The gem works and wasn't sabotaged in any way, so we're left asking ourselves, why? After all the messing with us and the community as a whole, why choose to help save the world now? You get Rayquaza to destroy the meteor at danger close range, and you are left drifting presumably at death's door. Once more, Gengar shows up in this plane to try to take you to the Shadow Realm or whatever they want to call it. As Gengar puts it, they took a wrong turn, so they leave you here instead. The townspeople wake you and your partner up, and your partner says, Gengar saved you too, didn't they? The fact that Gengar messed up twice in getting rid of people they've shown hatred for does seem to suggest your partner is correct in assuming Gengar was actually just helping you and hiding that fact. Once again, the question is why? In the post-game, it's revealed that Gengar is the human from the Ninetales legend who abandoned Gardevoir and was cursed to turn into a Pokemon. It starts to make a bit more sense how seeing Gardevoir come to our dreams might have affected Gengar's outlook and actions with the coming climax of the story. The guilt of their past actions appearing straight in their face, again, likely triggered this shifting. Getting back to the question of forgiveness though, how do we as the player/audience feel about these attempts at redemption? This is the same antagonist that orchestrated a witch hunt on us and tried to actively discourage others from saving individuals and the world itself. There are several schools of thought and ways of thinking that can be entertained with the question of justice and forgiveness. It requires us to ask ourselves what we mean by justice and forgiveness, not just the methodology of going about achieving them. Does justice mean doling out punishments to those who have wronged others to a proportionate amount? Is punishment necessary in seeking justice, or are there other ways of accommodating those wronged while also providing restorative opportunity for those who carried out the injustices? How does fairness relate to justice, and how do we define fairness? These are philosophical and ethical questions with long histories that are still being considered today, with real-world ramifications in how they affect the laws and policies in our societies. I want to keep this video somewhat short, so rather than going into great depth on these concepts and the philosophical history, I'll provide a list so you can check out thinkers like Plato, Machiavelli, Kant, Mill, Rawls, Ohlsson, Skillington, Sandel, and so on and so forth. Just to give some quick thoughts on these general ideas, it is curious to think why Gengar was how they were as a human. Did something about their upbringing and environment push them to have a callous exterior and overly selfish personality? Was abandoning Gardevoir when face to face with a curse of a more basal instinctual flight response and not actually deep-seated narcissism? Considering the change of heart Gengar displays, it makes a seemingly unrealistic situation actually come around to feel more realistic, as this otherwise flat character shows some provoking depth and relatable aspects. Maybe you too would run away in a panic if you thought your life was on the line. Bit of a Deltarune spoiler here too, so heads up. It's kind of making me think of what we have seen of Susie so far as well. Susie lays it all out for us by chapter 4 that her cold introduction to us is born out of her past experiences. Reactions she got from others often indicated she was doing things badly or doing bad things, so she must have to be bad. It was only with a different environment and people that she started thinking that wasn't set in stone. Another question that I mentioned already was whether Asriel has notable control at any time during Flowey's plans. Then, of course, alongside all this, there's the question of, does it actually solve anything to not forgive Gengar or Asriel at the point at which the choice is present? We can argue that if such actions aren't punished, then others may be more easily tempted to carry out similar actions. Of course, forgiveness being present does not mean no punishment is present. Gengar at least got some comeuppance for deceiving the town, and Asriel says he will most likely lose himself at the end of this story. There's good in allowing others to recognize their mistakes, grow past them, and contribute to the world going forward. These are just some haphazard philosophical and sociological lines of reasoning here, but hopefully they get a picture going in your mind about these concepts. Regardless of what conclusions you come to, the Undertale pacifist route and Gengar's story are some beautiful examples of the large concept of forgiveness, if not for their ability to prompt such retrospection. It's an engaging exercise to try to figure out why pieces of media make us feel the way they do. In some ways, I'm a little apprehensive of the practice for the fear that it might take away from the magic of them. Of course, too much of that kind of thinking might detract from engaging in continuous and reflective learning. Nostalgia no doubt plays a part of the equation as well, considering it's been almost 20 years since the first Mystery Dungeon, 10 years since Undertale, and 6 years since Hail Stan. This metacognition has led me to being more aware of my own intake and processing of information across media, though. So there is more to this than simple longing for days gone by. I think this kind of reflection has also shown to be a good exercise in empathy, which seems to be something we need more of societally nowadays. Not expecting to actually persuade those who need it most through gushing about Pokémon and Undertale, but it was a fun little project to do that might at least prompt a bit more thinking, or at least happiness in shared experience of wonderful media.